So first things first, I'm sure you can tell that my background is different than it normally is, but I do have a very solid explanation for that. You see, I finally hit a massive bet on a horse race, a bet massive enough that I could dig myself out of this gambling hole that unfortunately has fell upon me. But I accidentally went on a 2-week-long bender and spent it all. And I'm now in hiding from those individuals in which I owe money from. But regardless of all of that, today's a good day. Today's a good day because we finally got a UFC announcement. And this announcement was Dustin Poirier's retirement fight for a trilogy against Max Holloway. And I think this is a very interesting fight because obviously we all remember, sort of, how their second fight went. I do think there is some misremembrance when it comes to this fight slightly because of the fact that Max Holloway essentially got rocked every single time Dustin Poirier made contact with his face. It seemed like no matter what the strike was, no matter what the circumstances were, if Max Holloway got touched, he was doing the chicken dance in this fight. I mean, he got rocked probably 9 separate times in the first round alone. But what's crazy enough is, with that being said, he won 2 rounds out of that fight, which is kind of crazy. And I think it does sort of show the fight was closer than a lot of people remember. But also, at the same time, the reason why Max Holloway won 2 rounds was because Dustin Poirier expended so much energy trying to put Max Holloway away. I mean, the amount of flurries he threw at Max Holloway when he got rocked was absolutely insane. Dustin did slow down quite a bit. Max Holloway did put a lot of pressure on him. There were moments where Max was landing very long combinations on him, but he just didn't quite have the power to actually hurt Dustin Poirier. Of course, Max Holloway took that fight on 4 weeks' notice. He was not a proper 55er, and at that time, Dustin was probably the biggest guy in the division. And of course, since then, when we actually saw Max Holloway take the time to acclimate to fighting at 155 pounds, he put an absolute clinic on Justin Gaethje, who at the time was coming off knocking out Dustin Poirier via head kick. I mean, Max Holloway in that fight in particular seemed to have such a speed advantage over Justin Gaethje. I mean, Gaethje just could not get a timing on Max's combinations in the slightest. He wasn't seeing the punches coming. He wasn't building any reads. I mean, he was reacting so heavily to every single one of Max's feints because, again, he just couldn't deal with the speed. And, not seeing the shots coming made the shots that Max would land just that much more effective. I mean, look at this sequence right here from round 4. Max goes jab to the body, hook upstairs. This shot does not land. It hits Justin's shoulder, and look at how he reacts to the follow-up shots that just weren't there. I mean, he was so bothered by the speed of Max here, he did not have a timing on it. Now, though, it is funny, I do recall immediately after this fight happened, a lot of people were saying, well, the only reason Max Holloway had any success was because Justin was compromised, because of the spinning back kick that got landed to his face, and that's the only reason why, so the win doesn't even really count. And I always found that one funny, but fair. Yeah, if you do eat a spinning back kick to the nose, now all of a sudden the matchup is null and void. I actually completely agree with it. But look, regardless, you cannot say a third fight now against Dustin Poirier is not interesting because of the fact that we know how good and how dangerous Max is when he's fully acclimated to 155. Though, I do think there is a lot more to that initial fight between Max and Dustin than just the weight advantage. I think stylistically, Max Holloway is a very preferable opponent to somebody like Dustin Poirier. And the reason for that is Dustin Poirier's entire game is built upon finding counters from long boxing exchanges. That is just what Dustin Poirier does. The very first sequence of the second Conor McGregor fight, what does Dustin Poirier do? Land a counter off of Conor overextending. I mean, throughout that entire fight, he was finding good counters against, one of the best boxers the UFC's ever seen. The Michael Chandler fight. Because Dustin is so stationary, it does lead to him being hittable. But you saw what happened as Michael Chandler was just winging overhands at him. Eventually, he was able to really step in, really hurt him with a counter. It is just what Dustin Poirier does. And you look at what Max Holloway does. You look at what Max Holloway did in that second Dustin Poirier fight. It was stand right in front of Dustin and try to overwhelm him with long boxing combinations. And he was getting countered over and over and over again. I mean, look, Dustin Poirier is a better boxer than Max Holloway. I mean, it's just that simple. Now, Max Holloway does do a tremendous job using his length, using his reach, especially at 145. But at 55, he's not much taller and longer than Dustin Poirier. It's difficult for him to use his reach and his length the same way in that matchup. He has to more or less kind of box Dustin in the pocket, and again, that just didn't go well for him. Look, obviously, Justin Gaethje is not the same pure boxer that Dustin Poirier is. He has a very different style, one that I think did match up against Max Holloway far better. But against Dustin Poirier, I'm not sure if Max's approach of, again, standing in front of him, trying to overwhelm him with boxing combinations will ever be a good idea. Though, of course, I think there are some things that Max Holloway can do differently, and obviously, his chin is going to hold up a lot better in this matchup than it did prior. His power is going to translate way better than it did last time. So, I mean, the question is, what exactly does that change here now? For starters, I think one of the most underrated aspects of Max Holloway's game is his ability to roll and move with punches. I mean, everybody talks about Max Holloway's chin, and he does have a very good chin, obviously, but I think the reason why he's avoided so many knockouts in his career is because what he does so well is when you move in with punches against him, he moves and slides and rolls just perfectly to avoid any big impact from his opponents. I mean, Max is elite at this. I mean, you look at the Justin Gaethje fight, 99% of the time as Gaethje was stepping in trying to land, you see Max is moving away with the punches. The one time he got dropped in round 4, why did it happen? It's because he ate the shot completely standing still, he didn't roll with it, and therefore it sat him down. You look at the Ilia Topuria fight, again, he did a really good job moving on the outside, maintaining his distance, again, rolling with shots, up until he ate that one shot standing completely still. It stunned him really badly, and then the final shot, it was the exact same thing. He did not roll with this shot, he did not move with it, and therefore it put him out. Well, when fighting somebody as good at finding counters as Dustin Poirier, the more boxing heavy he is, the more likely he's going to eat some heavy shots with an inability to roll with it. And that's why I think he needs to be way more kick heavy in this matchup. I mean, some of the moments he was having the most amount of success against Ilia was from his kicks. He threw a lot of really good teeps right up the middle. His knee stomps against Ilia were pretty nasty. Of course, right, Max Holloway has very good high kicks. He sets up the high kicks very well, you know, throwing combinations upstairs into the body. I just think the more he mixes in kicks, the more it will break up Dustin Poirier's rhythm in finding counters. Again, he cannot abandon the boxing completely, but again, right, the long boxing exchanges is where Dustin starts building reads and starts finding his moments to step in and crack you. If you just mix in the kicks with it, I think it's going to really hinder Dustin's ability to do that. I mean, look at Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev. There were a lot of boxing exchanges in that fight, and Islam overall did get the better of the boxing against Dustin Poirier. Now, again, though, a lot of people will say, no, takedown threat, so it literally doesn't count. Like, factually, legally, morally, it actually completely doesn't count. Islam gets zero credit because it's a takedown threat. Which, I mean, you know, yes, right? If you are fighting someone who has a very high takedown ability, you do not want to overthrow on them. If you overthrow and end up out of position, you can risk getting taken down. But look, the truth is, you know, Islam's takedowns out in the open aren't that good in the first place. Like, Dustin didn't need to be that that scared of them. And I don't think he was. I mean, of course, right? We all know by now, Islam, similarly to Khabib, they needed to get you to the fence to reliably hit takedowns. Their pure wrestling out in the open is good, but it's not spectacular. I mean, this is what Dustin's corner was yelling at him the entire Islam fight. They were saying, do not back up, stay out in the open. If your back gets to the fence, we're getting taken down, so stay there. And, that's what he did. But it was the fact that Islam was breaking up the rhythm with the takedown attempts is what essentially really aided him in the boxing. Islam would stay on the outside, step in, land punches, because he is a very good boxer himself, and then shoot takedowns, break up the rhythm, and prevent Dustin from really getting the timing on the counters that he needs. And I think Max Holloway is very capable of replicating this sort of idea with his skill set. He needs to be mixing the kicks in with the boxing a lot. I think the more he does that, the less Dustin's game is going to shine. And a Max Holloway that is a properly sized 155er, a Max Holloway that actually is capable of hurting Dustin with the right timed shot, and one that won't get nearly as rocked as easily as long as he implements the correct style, as long as he takes away these key elements from Dustin's game. I think, honestly, probably, you know what? I think he's gonna win as long as he does that. Yeah.